What is going on, you guys? So today I just want to make a super quick video for you talking about why it's important for you to stop letting people make decisions for you. Now I know what you're thinking. You might already be like, I'm not letting people make decisions for me. What are you talking about, bro? Blah, blah, blah. Well, here's what I mean. It might be obvious to you if you are already, and then it might not be so obvious. So like, here's the first example. Sometimes, let's say you're overthinking or too analytical, and so you make it difficult for yourself to make a decision. So when you put yourself in that position, if you wait too long, you, number one, lose an opportunity because you didn't go for it, right? So like, you don't even get the yes or the no option, right? You can't go either way because you relinquish both options by not making a decision. Or maybe enough time passed that the other person, for example, in the equation makes the decision. So now it's no longer really in your hands, like they made a decision about what they're going to do in the situation. So I can give you like a few examples, right? Like this could happen with, let's say you're negotiating, or you've got like, 2 or 3 apartments that you're looking at, right? If, for example, in that circumstance, and you want to find the best place for the best price, all that good stuff, if you wait too long, essentially you lose all of the options because someone else is going to take it, right? And maybe a better option will come up for you because you did that. Although maybe not. Maybe you'll put yourself in a tricky position because you were indecisive and you kind of let the world make the decision there, right? Other people wanted to rent the rooms, so they got there before you. And it's kind of interesting because that brings up the topic of like you 100% are in competition with other people for things that you want in life. It's not this kind of like participation trophy culture that a lot of people were raised up in. I was raised up in that too, so I get it. It's funny because there's competition and there's abundance, right? There's tons of places you can rent, and let's just take it to a different example, right? Like dating. You 100% have competition. Like there's another man who is interested in that really high quality, kind of like in your head, like a girl that checks all the boxes, like the dream woman, right? Like who you would really want to be with long term, maybe like mother of your children type, whatever the dream girl is, right? Like there's another guy who likes that kind of girl. You're not alone, right? So let's say you're both in the circumstance where you get the chance to talk to her, and either you wait too long, you get anxious, you overthink it, something like that. Like if you're both in the situation and she sees that the other guy is, a good guy, right? I know there's nuance to all this, but let's say you're both good guys and you're the indecisive one, or you're the one that takes too long. There's a difference between like that and then pacing a relationship, because that's a completely different thing. Because you have to be able to pace a relationship correctly. But let's just say you both are interested in this girl, and the other guy is, equally as good of a guy, as confident, doing well for himself as well, and he's just decisive and has the courage to take the steps and make the decisions. Well, truthfully, it's more than likely that he'll be the one that ends up with your dream girl in that situation. So you have competition. At the same time, you have abundance too. Now, maybe a lesson to learn there is you can't, let's say for example that she goes with the other guy in that circumstance. You're gonna have other chances, and you can't keep doing that, right? Like you can't keep being the indecisive guy. You can't keep not being confident and holding yourself back, overthinking, overanalyzing. Sometimes you just have to go for it, because really it's the person who fails faster usually succeeds faster, because they're not just in their head like, what if, should I, blah blah blah. I think that whole tangent that I just went on isn't really a tangent. It's like a really great example of how that'll help you. I mean, and funny enough, sometimes psychology can be interesting in these examples. Like, let's say there's like a business deal, right? And you are very abundant, and you also have an abundance mindset. In that sale, or let's say you're negotiating in that deal, you have the ability to simply walk away, which shows that you have the abundance or the abundance mindset. And sometimes that actually brings the other person to make a decision like, okay, like I like your deal, like let's go with it. So it's kind of funny, right? Like, you have that little bit of competition there, but at the same time, the abundance shows like you made a decision to walk away if it wasn't really something that matched up with your values, right, and where you're looking to go. And then that made them be like, okay, like this guy knows what he's doing, like I'm gonna go with him. So, and that would be a great example for, I mean, dating can work that way too. Yeah, I mean, and this can happen for you in tons of different situations, right? Like we talked about, like, you know, finding a place to live, you know, business deals, dating. And with dating, I know there's one last example that I wanted to share there. I just wanted to just add something into the abundance mindset. Like almost like the business deal situation. Like, you knowing, you having an abundance mindset. Even, I was wondering if I should say this, but it's funny because you can have like proof of abundance, and you can also have an abundance mindset. And it's not necessarily delusional if you actually know what you're capable of, right? Like you are actually abundant in your energy, let's say, in your thinking. So you know that you don't necessarily need the physical abundance. It would be easy for you to walk away from a business deal that's not the right fit for you, or a dating situation or relationship that's not the right fit for you. And it's funny because you do have competition. That is true. And at the same time, there's not really like the concept of the one, right? Like in dating, that's like a big thing. Like, it almost plays into like one-nightedness. One-nightedness is basically when someone's like so obsessed or wrapped up in the idea of the potential of this hypothetical relationship, right? Or maybe it is a relationship, and they're just so wrapped up in that, like this one has to work, like I have to keep it. And you see that, right? Like it's you see the scarcity, like they're latching, like I gotta make this one work, I gotta make them stay, blah blah blah. But like, you don't. And the funny part about that is it allows you to have really magnetic high frequency, basically, and so that will attract the right kind of person to you. And so in that circumstance, it's not really like there's the one for you, right? Like the super like Disney idea. There are ones. I mean, think about it. There's so many people on the planet that there's a high chance that it'll work out with you and another person. You just have to be decisive and intentional and abundant, as well as developed in your character as your person. Like, you level up your real life video game character, so you are the high quality magnet for that. And this is a long way of saying, too, that it'll be really helpful for you if you stop overthinking things and start making the decisions for yourself, because if you don't, someone else will make the decision for you. And actually, the other example that I completely was going to talk about in the beginning, too, that might not be so obvious, is you've been raised your entire life with certain ideas that, like, you know, your siblings told you, your uncles, your parents, your teachers, society, the government, school, all of this, right? Like, they taught you things, and sometimes you haven't even thought to question why they wanted to tell you those things. Like why did that particular person or that particular group say that to you? And then, is that true for you? And is that actually helpful for you? I mean, think about, like, the US, right? For example, like, a lot of people are basically taught to do, like, the typical American dream. Like, they tell you certain things, like, for example, the school system, they'll say, like, they'll basically say it's okay to get in debt, right? They kind of, like, encourage you to get into debt for your college as, like, an investment in your future. And sometimes I think for certain cases, like certain jobs, it does work. Although I think at a certain point, like a lot of people are starting to recognize that school, like especially college, is becoming, like, slightly outdated in a lot of ways. And slightly is kind of an understatement. So there's a ton of people that are in debt, and they are lacking the tools, or they haven't really been taught how to actually get out of it, or how to utilize debt to their advantage, or how to not get into debt in the first place. Like, you just followed a path because someone was like, yeah, do this. You're supposed to do, you're supposed to go to school, go to college, potentially get some debt, potentially get a mortgage for your home afterwards, all that. And if you do it right, fine. Although I think there's a lot of people that are in challenging positions because of that. And that's, again, a long way of saying, you see that? Like, that's a perfect example of people not making decisions for themselves because as a child, like they grew up and people told them, like, this is what you should do. This is what's healthy for you. They instill these ideals, and I think the craziest part is sometimes you'll get to a point where you realize, I never even thought to question that. Is that good for me? Is that what I should do? Do I want my life to be like theirs? And I think you can learn something from everybody. I want to make that very clear. Like, I think let's say if, for example, someone doesn't have, let's say, the finances that you want, like the wealth in their life, and you wonder, like, well, should I listen to that person? Well, they might have something good to learn from them in a different aspect. So it's good to be open-minded there, right? It's like, a different example could be, like, of course, like, which personal trainer would you hire? The guy with, like, a dad bod or, like, a little chubby, or would you hire the guy who's, like, pretty buff, right? And, like, pretty good shape? Well, there's a clear answer for that, but maybe, you might not hire the guy who's more overweight as a personal trainer, but he might be someone who can teach you something really good in a different area. And that was a little bit of a tangent there, but I just want you to think about this and start waking up to, like, how many of these decisions, how self-aware am I? How much am I thinking freely, thinking creatively, thinking critically in designing my own life? And how much has it been designed for others? Or designed by others. Like think about how many kids, like, their parents were doctors, or they weren't doctors and they wish that they were, and so they told their kids, like, they raised their kids to go be a doctor, right? And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you actually want to do. Although, maybe you think it's what you want to do because you were told that your whole life. That's kind of crazy. So really, I'm just making this video so that you can start thinking more critically and start making more decisions for yourself, not overthink, and yeah, I mean, basically stop letting life and other people make decisions for you. I hope this video helped in some way. I know it was a little bit scatterbrained, but I think I got all the points across that I wanted. And yeah, I hope this helps, and you got this, bro.